Hello, and welcome to a weird week of AGT time. Cody Patterson here,
Along with Jay Bach and special guest.
AGT commenter.
yeah. So we have at AGT commenter on our podcast this week. He's been gracious enough to join us in this kind of off week that we're having here. He and I have kind of been tweeting back and forth a few times the last couple of weeks, and he's been nice enough to come on and just kind of talk about the season that he's watching. The interesting situation we've kind of got going on here. In his familiarity with AGT and what he likes about AGT. So, thank you. Welcome. Glad you're on here.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of get into it real quick, and Jay, you can kind of pop in anytime you want to as well.
Yes.
But kind of give us your history with AGT, like how long you've been watching, maybe some of your favorite acts.
Yeah. So I was 9 when the first season started. Like the first season, I'm only 24, so I wasn't into it early on in the show. You know what I mean? But 2016, that first year with Simon, was when I really got into watching it, like sitting down and watching it, but and then since then it's become such a big thing on YouTube. The show has all that, you can go watch any clips, and so like the history of the show I really got into a lot, just in the winter times or whatever, just watching YouTube and whatnot. But like when I really got like into the show would probably be kind of that season 11, which from my view, at least from what I've seen, I still think is the best season, just in terms of talent. Judges panel, host. I thought that was, I don't know if it's you want to say the peak of the show, but to me, at least since then, it hasn't been 12, 13, 14 haven't been to that level. I really like 12, but 11 to me still is sort of the benchmark in terms of seasons.
Okay, you said that was Simon Cowell's first season back.
Yeah, that was Vanderwall's season.
Grace Vanderwall. Okay.
Brian Justin Crum, Clairvoyance, Dornbos, Valentin Eddy, kind of that group. I think that was the top 5, to be honest.
Yeah.
That final, I remember the finale is 2 of the best hours of live TV. It was really good. And like you look back to it and really it was kind of Dornbos was really the only one who, looking back, was a little bit of a disappointment that night. I don't know if you remember his final act that night, but he did kind of the tricks with the 2s. It was just 4 2s and he was making them appear. And it was just almost a super letdown from what he had done the previous 4. Yeah, I guess because he had a judge cuts his previous 4 performances. But other than that night was incredible. So I love that season. But Vanderwall would be up on my list of just some of my favorites. I still think I'm pretty bullish on Shinlin being the best talent that the show's had. I don't think close, sure, but to me, I think it's pretty clear he's the best talent that I've seen on the show.
Okay. So you tend to like the magicians, and
I do. I love magic. I like doing magic too. I like doing card tricks, but yeah, I'm a big magic fan.
Okay. So when you watch magicians on the show, do you generally have a pretty good idea how they pull something off?
So card tricks, I'm a little bit more keen into it. I can tell a little bit more. Some of the other stuff, the mentalist stuff, the bigger stuff, I know it's obviously there's something to it that they're doing. I never have had a huge interest in like watching the revealed clips on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't need to see that. Like, I like the mystery a little bit. I like trying to, I'll just watch the regular video a couple times and try and maybe catch on to a few things. But for the most part, card tricks I can catch on a little bit more because I know that a little bit better. But yeah, some of the bigger stuff, kind of like some of that, like you think of, I don't know, a good example, like some of that Dornbos stuff that he did in his middle acts, where he got into the big map with the footballs throwing it at it and stuff like that. Like that stuff, no idea how that works. Some of his card stuff, I don't know if you remember his audition, but he's making all the cards appear and he's doing, like, I can catch on to some of the stuff he's doing there. But yeah, some of the big stuff, those are so produced that I have no clue.
Yeah, well, the thing that John Dorenbos has going for him that a lot of magicians don't is personality. Like, that
he's really
guy
good.
he can capture a crowd. So
Yeah.
What other types of acts do you like to see AGT commenter?
So I really do like acrobatic acts. So I really like the Unbeatable, Zerkaro, those types of acts. Because I don't think people realize how incredible some of the things they do. Like, I think you almost get a little numb to it. Like, you think of the Unbeatable, and I probably had the same thing by about third or fourth time we saw them last year. I kind of got to the point where I was like, not so much like, here we go again, but it was just, it's hard if you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know they're doing different new tricks. It all sort of blends together and just looks like they're just doing the same throws and spins. But the stuff they do is, and quite frankly, with this random cheerleading Twitter explosion that I've had, the stuff that they talk about with how, like, it's crazy how hard the throwing, the balance, they're incredible athletes and stuff. And so it's I always like those acts because I think the talent is underrated with those acts at times.
Yeah, Jay and I have talked a couple of times about these dance acts that, or even acrobatic acts, where there's so much going on the stage. It's hard to focus on one
Right.
particular act. It does look like it all kind of blends together, even though each individual is maybe doing something special.
Right. Yeah. Like, they all, obviously all have their own part that they're doing, but the speed of which, how high they go, you get caught on certain parts. You're missing half the act throughout it, because if you focus on one person at one point, you're just going to miss something off on the side, which can make it a little more difficult. But a couple of times watching it, you can kind of catch through it. But
Yeah, so you mentioned a little bit. If you could tell us a little bit about what's going on with the cheerleading Twitter, what happened and what's going on?
so the cheerleading act was the last new episode, was the
Yeah, the
first
CA
act, and they were
Wildcats.
pretty good. I actually thought they were a solid act, but I tweeted during, I said the hard thing about them is 90% of people watching this show don't know what a really good cheerleading act is supposed to look like. They don't know if what we saw was really good cheerleading or not, like comparative to the world championships. And so I just tweeted that it's kind of hard, that the reason that this act is probably going to, I would doubt, make it past the quarterfinals, is just because people at home are just like, cheerleading, like, what do we know about cheerleading? I don't know anything about cheerleading. And so someone from the deep depths of cheerleading Twitter saw it and tweeted at me and was like, hey, they're a level 6 of 7. Like, this is kind of the stuff they were doing. I was like, oh, this is great. This is a great reference point for people. Cool information. Appreciate it. You're my go-to for cheerleading info from here on out. And she, I assume it's a she. I have no idea, to be honest. I think a lot of them are anonymous like me too. But they were like, you guys got to see this account. He's hilarious, whatever, which I didn't even think I tweeted anything funny about cheer. And from there on out, I mean, I've been in group chats. They added me to group chats. One of them is titled AGT Commenters Fan Club. I had a tweet that hit 407, 2 tweets that hit 470 likes. I went from 140 followers last Tuesday night. By Thursday lunch, I was at like 350. And it was just this, and they're funny, they're interesting. They talk because they talk in a different language at times. To me, it feels like it's this crazy world, but they're really cool. They're awesome. I appreciate them because they got me some followers. They've been really nice to me. But there was another person who tweets along with the show, and she tweeted that she was anti the cheerleading because kind of, oh, is it really that hard? And it's the exact opposite. They all hate her guts, and I'm getting messages that I'm their favorite new Twitter account, and I don't know a thing about cheer. And there was multiple tweets I'm just throwing out there that I know they're gonna like. I'm just trying to get likes. I just threw stuff out there that I had no idea what they meant, but from conversations I drew conclusions that this would get a lot of likes, and then I threw it out there and it gets 250 likes. I'm like, geez, it's a crazy world.
Oh man, that's great. So in the last week, you've really kind of just exploded on the
but none of it has anything to
scene.
do with it. Yeah, none of it has to do with anything with AGT. I tweeted a handful of things about AGT, 2 likes. I literally put a tweet out of a picture of a crowd with one guy and a picture of like one of the biggest crowds in concert history, and said AGT tweet versus if I just put the word cheerleading in a tweet. And that one got 120 likes. And I'll tweet Chin Lim's audition and it'll get 2 likes. And I'm like, well, I guess this is my Twitter life now. But I had someone who was tweeted along with me on when I tweet the show and they're like, "Are you leaving us?" And I'm like, "No, trust me, I prefer. I'm always down with the show, but I'm also always down with getting some new followers and hopefully get some of them to watch the show too and tweet along with us as well."
So how long have you been acting as AGT commenter online here?
So the first champion season was the first time I live tweeted the show with the account. I can't remember when I made it. That I think I probably made it right before the show that round. After season, that would have been 13. I was like, this would be kind of fun. I like watching the show. I should tweet along with it. I should just make this stupid account just so my friends and family don't have to follow along to my stupid tweets on my main account because they don't care about the show. And I was like, and quite frankly, it's kind of allows me to say some stupid stuff, funny stuff, like kind of throw stuff out there. And I thought there was it's a show to where there's a lot of unintentional comedy on the show of things that happen that are really funny to point out that people wouldn't, like the mom this year, I think it just said "cool mom" was her shirt. Like that's just funny things that no one's pointing out, but it's funny because it's just like, who wears a shirt that says "cool mom"? Like it's this unintentional comedy, as well as a really good show to watch and break down talent and actually give like good insight on what's happening on the show. So I thought it was a cool mixture that I could do. So that champion season was my first season or first time tweeting. So last year was really my first full season live tweeting the show as the personality.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is my fourth season doing this podcast.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, I don't know if you probably aware of this, but I went into a dark area in season 8, 9, and 10 after a Latte Dogs won.
Oh yeah.
So then I came back in season 11, and when I came back, I started doing the podcast with one of the former hosts, and I've stuck with it since then. But this is the first year that I've been able to live tweet. Normally with my work schedule, I have to go to bed before the show's even on, so I always watch it on Hulu. So I've enjoyed live tweeting it this season, with you and some of the others that have been on there. It just seems like it's more engaging. It's more interesting, and you're seeing a lot of other people's opinions.
Right, you get
it's more entertaining.
Like you get a little view of what other people are thinking too, that to either validate or to go, oh, maybe I am wrong on this or whatever. There was so the last audition, I had 2 different times that we had storms in the area, so the weather guy cut in and I missed 2 acts. And I was getting so many notifications from cheerleading Twitter. I would put my phone down and I'd open it back up and I'd have 20 plus in the notification. I couldn't focus on the show. And so I put out my rankings for the episode after, and then someone tweeted at me like right away, like, dude, how did you like that? The person you have 8th was way better. I was like, I tweeted, there's a very good chance I'm completely wrong on this. I was so preoccupied. I have no clue. I got to go back and rewatch these. So like, but yeah, like you get to see other people and kind of see what they think too, which is cool.
So you have on your Twitter feed Nick Cannon as your avatar.
I love Nick Cannon. I think he's the best host the show's had. Like I do like Terry. I like Terry a lot, but Terry is super cheesy. He's just a very cheesy guy. Yeah. He's a grandpa, which was stunning news to hear last season when he said he was a grandpa. Never seen a grandpa in that kind of with that sort of muscles on his chest. But Nick was he treated it with like the perfect amount of almost like, not that he was standoffish to it, but he just had he's just a really good host. He's hosted plenty of things. I always liked him. I was really sad when he left season 12. Yeah. And then also I think the picture is really funny because it's super fuzzy. It's a horrible picture. He's wearing the stupid hat. It looks like his neck is like cranked to the side. It's just a bad picture. So I thought it was a really funny picture to use as the avatar. And I want people to remember that Nick Cannon was a part of the show.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Nick Cannon as well. I think Terry's is great. I think they're both very similar. They're very engaging with the acts. They participate in the acts. So that's one thing I really love about a host. When we had Tyra on, I didn't feel she was very engaging. And,
well, her shining moment was she eliminated Michael Ketterer by announcing as if Michael Ketterer had won, and it was the most uncomfortable and confusing moment in results history. She yells his name like he just won $1 million, and he's going home and he's looking around like, wait, did I go through or am I going home? It was a bad deal. And at that point I was like, we might need to try somebody else here.
Yeah, that was, I do remember that being an uncomfortable moment. And that was that in the finales that happened? Or,
Yeah, he took
oh,
he took
geez,
fourth, and she's like coming in fourth place, and she announces his name like he won, and everybody's
Michael
like,
Ketterer.
yeah, like this is Tyra. It's not good. He didn't want fourth. Fourth was the fourth best option for him.
Wrong
It was
energy.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the pageants where if they can't fulfill their duties, then it moves down to the next person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the fourth is the fourth best option. So it was funny though.
What other? I guess like we talked about magic. We talked about singers and acrobatics a little bit. Do you find joy in the eliminated acts?
As in
the ones that don't go through the some of the flops or every episode there's 3 or 4 eliminated acts that I make Cody rank them. Do you enjoy that part of the show as well?
There are ones I do. Like there was one this year, the comedian. I can't remember the joke, but it was a funny joke. Like it was a stupid pun joke, but I was like, oh, it was about toilets. He said it was his bidet job.
Yes.
I was like, that's a great joke. Why did he get the buzzer? That was a terrific, like that's better than 90% of the jokes we get on this show. I thought it was hilarious. So I actually get a good kick out of some of those. There's some, the ones I have the problem with are, I don't mind the ones that get eliminated. I have the problem with the ones that really should, that go through with 3 or 4 yeses. And it's like, that was supposed to be in the montage of the crappy acts, but it's going through. Those ones I get really frustrated with, but.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of feel like, if you, maybe that's how the golden buzzer should be used, is if you like an act that really should be eliminated, like
right.
Those are the ones that you should golden buzzer through.
Well, that's what Nick did in season 11 with the old grandma that had the tassels and was dancing,
Yes.
her burlesque dancer,
Yes.
who was however old. That was basically the same concept you're talking about. Yeah, that this act has no chance, but it would be cool to see them at the lives, or that they have a cool reason to be there, whatever. Yeah, I'm with you.
Very cool. And I guess the other thought that I had here is I wanted to say, I appreciate that your positive comments about the cheerleading squad is what has really given you kind of this boost in the last little bit. And so, let's stick with positivity, let's stick with love, and that's
sure.
a really fantastic way to move forward. So
Totally.
good on you. I'm glad you're getting some fun traction and have a lot of fun with the season so far.
Yeah, like I don't know if you guys are familiar with him on there. His name's, I don't know if it's Stefan or Steven Anderson, but he live tweets all the shows. He's a reporter down in Texas, I think, and a guy that I've tweeted along with. He's a really nice guy that I've like messaged to find out news about what's happening, because he's tied in with all of it. And he was just talking about how he's trying to get to, I can't remember if it was like 700, 800 followers, this new milestone. And I just told him, just say something nice about cheerleading and you're golden. You're getting like 100 in no time.
Yeah, who knew that was the golden key to get Twitter followers?
Just get on the good side of cheerleading Twitter, and you have an army behind you, basically.
So what are your thoughts on this season as a whole so far? Just the acts and kind of the situation and the being there no audience. Kind of what are your thoughts on everything?
So I like this season better than last season. I was super pessimistic last season. I just, between the changes in the judges, which I didn't like either of the 2 new judges last year, and then I felt like the talent really wasn't where I thought it could be. So last year I was really, I guess at the end of the season, I felt kind of down about the year, but this year there's multiple acts that I'm really excited about. I think it's a dominating singers season. I really do. Which I know there's probably a lot of people out there who don't like that. I've never been on the side of, let's get rid of singers. I think they make the show better. It's a talent. It's clearly a talent. It's gotten better. The singing has skyrocketed since Simon came on. It was bound to happen. But Danelia, I think it's Tulashova is how you say her last name. To me, she's the best act of the season so far. And to me, as excited about an act's future probably since Grace VanderWaal in terms of watching her and going, "Ooh, this one could have a really nice career." The thing that she has that Vanderwall didn't have was this, what seems like a pretty clear desire to want to be like a legitimate star and famous and stuff. I don't think Grace ever had that. I think she just wanted to write songs and sing. This girl's been on I don't know how many different shows. I know she's been on multiple in the US. So she clearly has this kind of a desire to be in the limelight and be a famous singer. So to me, that's an important part of them having a career after. She to me is legit. I love the Waffle Dance crew. I think they're awesome. I thought their moves were really they were like VM beatable, but only 6 guys and doing legitimate dance instead of acrobats. It was kind of had that feel to it. But I think the talent is a lot better this year. I love having Heidi back, although she's not the best judge. She is some familiarity. She's done it long enough. She understands sort of how the show is supposed to flow. And I honestly really like Sophia. I thought she's been really good, which I guess going into it, I'm always pretty unsure about a new judge just because it's really hit or miss. I've always said it's really hard to be a really good judge, but it's also really hard to be a really bad judge. Like it's a pretty easy job just to shoot down the middle and just say some cliches. And yet somehow, especially Gabrielle last year, found a way for me just to really, I thought, not be a great judge, but she's been really good. She's funny. She's quick. She throws jabs at Simon that work. But the first 5 episodes having fans felt like it made it feel like a regular season up to this point. And then last episode was not as awkward as I thought it was going to be. The comedy acts without the crowd is tough. That's the one that's really hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Because every other act you can basically throw music behind and hide the lack of crowd. The comedy one's tough. So outside of that, but comedy acts I've always thought are really hard on the show because you get 2 minutes, which there's very few ways to make a comedy act good in 2 minutes. A major part of comedy is a little bit of vulgarity, a little bit of explicit sort of places you're not supposed to go to tell a funny joke. Yeah. It's a family show. It's on a network. It's hard to do. So those 2 things really hinder a good comedy act. So when a guy like Ryan Niemiller last year or Samuel J. Comero the year before, who I wasn't in love with, but or Preacher, like that's impressive to me. But the no fans, I think, is going to be weirder at the judge cuts from the pictures I've seen because they're outside, it looked like, and all the judges are sitting at least 6 feet apart, I assume. And I heard they're only doing 1 episode.
That's what I'm seeing is 1 episode that they're going to cut down to. And I don't remember how many they're going to cut down to, but they're only doing 1 episode of judge cuts.
Yeah. And they only brought 50 people, I think. So my assumption is what I read.
Okay.
That might be wrong. But if it is, that means they cut some people already that told them that they're not coming through. So
they did, because we have in our spreadsheet, Jay, we have 94 acts in our spreadsheet. Yeah. So that means they've cut down almost half of what, I mean, granted, we have eliminated acts in our spreadsheet, but
yeah,
that means they've already cut 30 or so acts.
Yeah, the ones that I have gone through, I think I have 59.
Okay.
So that would be if they only took 59 trimmed down. So, yeah, I mean, that part, I think the judge cuts, but people forget that judge cuts up until before Simon, the judge cuts were it was like American Idol auditions. Mm-hmm. So it's been done before. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, though.
Yeah, I thought the episode was a little weird. I didn't feel as engaged with the episode with no audience members, and I discovered that I actually enjoy the audience members. One of those. It's one of those you don't think you're going to miss them till they're not there, and they weren't there, and I actually did feel like the episode was lacking without the audience there.
Yeah, there's an energy that you get from an audience. It's the same with like sports right now. Any sports that are on, it's kind of like. Yeah. You can watch it and it's fine. You notice it right away. You probably tone it out, but there's certain times throughout where something happens where you're like, ooh, there should have been a really big audience. Like a golf, he hits the pin on a shot from 150 yards. And you're like, where's the big cheer? And then it's just, you can hear the guy in the background going, oh, it didn't go in. The guy who hit it, and that's it. So like there's that part, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Speaking of the crowd, I noticed on your Twitter page, your banner picture, you've got our favorite grandma twins. Dressed in their corresponding outfits.
It's sort of this unintentional comedy that the show throws at you that that just is just this incredible random two old ladies that are twins that are dressed like the yin and yang symbol in purple and blue or pink and blue, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is incredible. And I got people tweeting their picture at me like, there they are again. Our queens are back. These stars are back. They're last season they would have been my favorite act of the season potentially. So I love them. They're hilarious. And it was funny the first time they were on. I think it was a comedian was telling a joke, and they were sitting there listening like everybody's grandma listens when they're telling you the story. They're like leaning in and they're like waiting for the punchline. I just thought they were hilarious. They're just such a perfect just cut to the crowd. You get, I think we probably got like 8 seconds of them the entire season, and it was just worth all 8 seconds.
Yeah, I thought it was just fascinating that these two ladies were sitting directly in front of the Double Dragon sisters family. They were all sitting together. And
I'm positive that the producers saw on Twitter that people love them because they peppered them in a couple different times after that. They're like, "Ooh, we've got something here. Let's make sure we use these ladies."
Oh, fantastic! So, are there any other? You mentioned, was it a Steven Anderson that we should follow?
Yeah. I think the one he does all of his TV stuff. He's big into Big Brother too, I think, which I don't watch, but is Stephen Reports. So I think it's STEPHEN Reports is that one that he tweets from. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And he's good. He writes like a blog. He works for, I can't remember what internet company he works for, but he blogs recaps of the shows and stuff too. Super nice guy, does good work. He's a television reporter, sports reporter in San Antonio. So he does good work. He's a nice guy. So
Stephen Reports, STEPHEN Reports. Yep. I've got him here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And of course, you're at AGT Commenter.
Yep.
Are there any others that we should be aware of while we're sharing names?
Well, the rest of them are kind of just people who comment on my stuff, so not necessarily worth a follow. But there's like one of my most loyal responders is a anonymous account of Groot. His name is Groot. He's got a picture of Groot, and so every time he tweets at me, I just respond. I call him Groot. I don't add him. I just say, yes, you're right, Groot. It's just weird thing. I have my buddy Groot on Twitter, so it's anonymous Twitter is a funny world. It's an interesting place to be in, but yeah, I think it's Steven. I'm gonna go with Steven. If he hears this, he can correct me, but he does good work. He's a good guy.
Good. Yeah, we'll follow him and keep an eye on what he can bring. I'm a Big Brother watcher. Jay's a Survivor watcher. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mostly AGT, and I admittedly I do love The Bachelor. I'm a big fan of The Bachelor, but that's my age group, I suppose. The mid-20s is I love it. I love all the shows. So any spin-off of the show too, I'll watch. So those are kind of the two cable television shows I watch. Everything else is streaming nowadays, I suppose. But those two, I enjoy those two.
So I kind of want to get your opinion on some of the acts that we've had this season. You say you really like the singers this year.
It's just a good group, especially the young female singers are incredible this year. It's just a really good group. The thing I tweeted about the young female singers was I've never seen this young group have this kind of stage presence. All of them come out there and they're actually moving around. They're dancing to the music. They're working the stage, which is super rare.
Yeah. What do you think of like the choirs, like voices of our city choir?
So there's very few choirs that do it for me. This one, I didn't mind him. Again, it's Terry. He sees this choir. He sees a choir that's a little bit underprivileged, and he just stares at that golden buzzer. He can't wait to go press it. It's almost seems like a prank that he pressed the golden buzzer for almost the exact same act 2 years in a row. It's really a funny thing. But I actually preferred them to Detroit Youth Choir, to be honest. I thought they were better singers. But I have them middle of the road to me. They're in the quarterfinals because they got the gold buzzer. I'd be stunned if they made it past the semis. I really would. I think they're probably a quarterfinal act, but who knows what we're going to get for a live show anyways. So
That is true. I mean, we're so far away from live shows because we're looking at uh, judge cuts at the end of July, and live shows won't start until August. Was it August 8th, somewhere around in there? So we're still a long way away from all of that. But I think once we get to live shows, things will move along pretty quickly. It just seems like we're so far away from it.
Yeah.
What about some of the comedians this year? Like,
let's see.
so we have Marty Ross and what's one of the other ones?
Usama.
Usama. Yep.
He was one. Michael Yo. Who was the
Vincent Marcus was the rapper.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed him.
Impressions of the rappers.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. What was the girl's name last week? She had the green on.
Yeah,
she was
Crystal?
really out. Yeah, I really
Crystal
liked
Powell?
her.
Yeah.
I thought she made me forget there wasn't a crowd during a comedy act for parts of it when there wasn't a crowd, which to me, my basic rule for comedians is if you can make me laugh, audibly laugh to where if someone was in the room, they'd wonder what that noise was, like make an out loud noise of a laugh more than once, then you've done a good enough job to where I think you're good. There's a lot of comedians that come on there and then I just sit there with a straight face. So if you can get me to laugh more than once, which I think she did. I thought when she was crouching behind the stool and doing that
Yes.
whole thing, I thought that was really funny. I thought it was clever. So I like
Yeah.
her. I like Vincent Marcus. And the guy that I don't think he's a comedian, but he's made me laugh was Brett Loudermilk,
Yes.
the sword swallower. And I tweeted that night, he, to me, although he's nothing like him, has the tape-faced lane of this guy who just does random stuff that has no actual meaning to it. Like, I guess he got a little bit derailed by the judges, but his stage presence, the way he does things, he's clearly a natural performer. I felt like he sort of has that same lane to where he could develop sort of this following that people really sort of get behind him just because they like sort of the whole persona of him.
Yeah, he took a simple trick and made it a 5-minute presentation, or in a 5-minute entertainment, and really entertained all of us.
And the way he didn't get flustered. He just kept rolling with it. I thought I was really impressed. I really liked him a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of getting flustered, what do you think of Christine Hurley?
The comedian.
Yes.
It was, I don't remember the last time we've seen that. I mean, I'm sure it's happened on the show, but usually they don't go through. So I guess we end up forgetting them. It was the people who were like, oh, I should have sent her through. I'm like, she imploded on stage. You don't get to, I mean, as much as I actually thought she had some funny parts at the beginning, you can't do what she did and go through. I felt really bad for her. I really did, because she seemed super nice, but it was awkward. It was what you fear if you were doing it. Like,
yes.
Like if I'm never going to go up and do stand-up comedy, but if I did, that exact moment, more than even getting booed, I think would be worse, because you're just standing there and you're froze. It had to be just awful, but it was kind of funny, but I hate to say it just because, but the thing that I really loved was Howie. I thought he was incredible when it happened, when he went backstage and talked to her about it. I thought it was really cool. It's part of one of the reasons why I like when a judge has one of the talents that they're going to see. That's why I always loved Mel B, because she knew what she was talking about with singers. She may not have gotten a lot of other things really well, but she may have been a little dense on some other stuff, but she's a performer and she's done it. She's in the industry. She knows how it works. She's, I assume, a good singer. I always felt like she gave good feedback, and Howie always gives good feedback. He thinks every comedian's funny, but he always gives good feedback to the comedians because he knows exactly what they're going through. And a lot of times the bad judges we see are judges that have no experience in the field of on-stage talent of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think my favorite act of the season to this point might be the throat singing brother and sister Olax. I'd be curious to hear your thought on them.
Refresh me on them, because they didn't.
So he was wearing, no, they did go through. They sang Zombie by Cranberries.
Yes.
He had like a face covering.
Oh, yes. I have them towards the bottom.
Okay.
But it was weird. I was like, what is happening? I was really confused. But they they were actually had some interesting talent. The thing with the season is the bottom for me on this season isn't actually that bad. Like they could go and do a really good performance on the next one and have a chance where I'm like, oh, it's not a bad act. There's a couple that are way down there for me, but for the most part, everybody's relatively in striking distance to make the live shows. But yeah, that was, I couldn't get past the outfits, which it's a tricky thing to do. Is you want to stand out with your outfit, but at the same time, if all I'm noticing during your act is your outfit, not what you're doing, then it's sort of a fine line. But I actually didn't, now that I'm remembering it more, they had some good talent. The song was interesting.
Yeah, I'd never heard a pop song, a popular song done in a throat singing style, and I got just the greatest kick out of it. So.
Yeah.
Jay went on a rabbit hole, a rabbit trail on throat singing, didn't you?
I did actually. Before Alex graced our screen, I had fallen down a throat singing rabbit hole and discovered a band called The Who, The Who, and they're like a heavy metal throat singing band. So if you're interested in such a thing,
it's always good to give a shout out to the throat singing listeners.
Yeah, maybe throat singing Twitter can start following at One Man Bander. And,
I don't know what if there is one, but if there is, definitely you got a guy that'll do your bidding for you.
They're only in the eastern parts of Asia and Siberia.
Oh yeah. I think Olak said they only got the internet just a few years ago.
Yeah. It was. I'm interested to see them again. I know I tweeted that. That's the type of actor I'm like, I want to see him one more time just to kind of see what we're actually dealing with here, because it's so out there. It's not like a singer or something that we see relatively frequently. It's like, let's see it one more time and just see exactly what we're dealing with. Because there's been a lot of acts in the past where you're like, oh, I kind of like them. And then they come out for the second time and they got nothing. Like they all they had was that one act, and then they come out and it's like, oh, okay, well, that was fun while it lasted. Kind of like that kid that did the karaoke last year of tequila.
Yeah,
it was funny. The tequila one was funny, but there was nothing to do after that. Like that's it. So I'm excited to see them again.
Okay.
So
you're big on the magic. What do you think of this year's magicians, like Ryan Trix?
I like Ryan Trix. I think he's one of the best. Other than that, it hasn't been a great. There hasn't been very many.
No, there hasn't. I mean, we have Florian and we have Winston, and they basically did the same trick.
Yeah, but Winston's was better. Winston was the second one, right? He was the one with the paper cards.
Correct.
Yes.
I thought he was better. I thought his was better. I was more like, whoa, I don't know what he's doing. There was once he had the jacket going, the first guy, his name again?
Was Florian.
Florian. Yep. Florian.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, there's something going on with your jacket. I really liked Winston's compared to his, but I think Ryan is the best magician that we have.
Okay, and Ryan's what was his trick? I'm trying to remember.
So he was doing, I don't know if you want to call it mentalism or what it was.
Yeah,
with Simon and Howie.
He made them match the same card. They picked the same card off the table. Yeah.
It's that kind of trick that I'm like, it's a really good trick when your first assumption is that somebody that they're in on it, and it's just something that they agreed to do backstage. Like that's pretty good sign of that a magic trick was really pretty good and had you fooled.
Yep.
I've pretty much said for a while that my favorite acts have always been like the clairvoyance and calling cloud, those types of tricks, because it's just really hard to tell. Really hard to tell, how are they doing it? It's very mystical to me.
Yeah, Colin should have been a finalist that year. That was a bummer. He should have went through. He should have been in the top 10. But the clairvoyance, they were so creepy, but they were so good. And it's all like if you go back and watch it again, you almost get a better appreciation of just how incredible the stuff they're doing. Because like the first time you watch it, you're just almost hung up on like it feels like you're in a ghost movie, something that like Stephen King might write or something really weird, something really creepy. But if you actually go back and watch like what they did with when she was underwater and with Simon's credit card, they were really, really good. They were awesome. They were one of my favorites too.
I kind of want to back up and talk just a little bit about the structure of the show with you. Something that comes up a lot in our conversations is we call it the America's Got Feels of it all. You know, it's this heartwarming backstory, or
Yep.
you know, there's all this stuff that goes into it. And for me personally, like as soon as I had a DVR, I was fast forwarding through the backstories. Like, show me the talent. I'm going to judge you on just your talent. So what are your thoughts on that? How do you think that's the right way for them to do it? You know, I guess kind of dig into that for me.
So every year I get about halfway through, I'm like, God, I'm so sick of these backstories. It's ruining the show. This is going to be the end of the show. Everybody's going to stop watching. And then the winner gets announced. And outside really of Cody Lee, every winner has just been the best, or arguably for the most part, there wasn't a backstory that won them the show.
Right.
If you really look back and think about a lot of them, like they all had maybe something about them that wasn't have to do with the talent, like young or dogs or something like that. But it wasn't like, oh, they overcame. It wasn't that they won because people mistake their trials and tribulations for their talent or anything like that. Outside of really of Cody, who was still really good. Like I still thought he was a really good singer. I think The Unbeatable should have won, but like, so every year at the end of it, the winner gets announced, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, Shin Lim won. Shin Lim didn't even have it. His backstory was that he had surgery on his hands once, and now he's a really good card magic instead of a piano player. It's like, that's great. You're the best magician on the planet. Your backstory is not happy, sad, or otherwise. It's just, you're just who you are, and you're incredible. So I go back and forth on it. It obviously is nice to get to know the acts. I do like that. Like I like to develop sort of a connection with them, you know, so to speak. But there's also the time where every now and again a kid will walk out there and the first thing he says is that something's wrong with him or her or whatever, like that they lead with their sad story. And that's where I kind of get like, oh, okay, like can we maybe get to that like a little bit later? I saw someone suggest that, I don't know who it was, but it could have been you guys, I'm not sure, that they shouldn't do any cut up on somebody until their second performance, until the judge cuts or until a live show is one or the other, where really the only intro is them walking on stage and just Simon saying, hey, how are you? Where are you from? You know what I mean? I don't hate that idea either, but even then they still end up finding a way to sneak in that they lost their pinky toe in a shark accident. So, but I go back and forth on it. Ultimately, for the most part, it hasn't really affected the result of the show when you actually look at historically who's won. Where it did affect was who was the runner-up last year with Detroit Youth Choir. But ultimately, yeah, I go back and forth on it. It's probably the best answer.
All right. I like that. I like that suggestion of let's never meet an act until after we've seen them perform.
Yeah.
I think if that were my idea, I would take credit for it, but it's not. So.
Yeah, I could have easily taken credit for that because no one would have found that suggestion, I don't think, on Twitter. But I'm gonna go on my honor. So.
Yeah, I like that. And
yeah.
no, and I guess I appreciate what you're saying, that the feels of it all may get you through the first round, maybe even the first two, but a winner it does not make. So that's
almost never. You can say Cody, but there was still a really good argument that Cody should have won based off of what he did. There was certain points where I was like, he's a little pitchy and stuff like that, but there was a perfectly good argument. I thought Eric Chen was going to win until he got corrupted by Simon, which has happened in the past to multiple acts, which is too bad. He tried to do it to Shin Lim. He did everything he could to prevent Shin Lim to win by telling him to use props, and Shin just kept holding on until he did the floating cards in the finale. That was cool, but he was a round away from potentially corrupting himself on that show. But yeah, the whole backstory thing ultimately has, the fans, I guess, have done a good enough job looking past all of it and just deciding who they think is best at their talent.
Very good. Very good. Oh, man. Well, I think this has been a really great conversation. If people want to continue the conversation with you, it's at AGT Commenter
Yep, not commentator. I get that a lot, and I'm not actually Nick Cannon. I've been no, I would say 4 or 5 times someone has thought I was Nick Cannon. I had somebody tweet at me like, "We miss you on AGT, man. You got to come back." And my response every time is just, "I am Nick Cannon." That's the only thing I say. I don't respond to what they said. I just say, "Yes, I am Nick Cannon." That's all I say, and then they don't respond back because they probably end up looking at it and go, "Oh, that's not actually Nick Cannon." As if Nick Cannon would have that picture as his Twitter avatar in real life. Like this fuzzy picture of me in a fedora is my best option.
That would be a fun surprise for Jay and I if Nick Cannon all of a sudden appeared on our screen.
Yeah. But yeah, commentator, I get that a lot. And my response is, I don't commentate, I comment. That's it. I'm not a commentator, I'm a commenter. So,
all right.
AGT commenter. And I do want to give one last shout out to my cheerleading Twitter people. I told them that I would shout them out when I was on here. So they're the best. I actually really appreciate them. They're cool. Go follow AGT Time. You guys, I like what you guys are doing. It's cool. So I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you.
And you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you. And is there any particular cheerleading club that you've kind of attached to yet?
So I bet I received, I would say dozens of videos of that they wanted me to watch. Like, hey, who do you think is better, this team or this team? I had somebody message me, hey, I love your stuff. You should watch my team. And I was like, already saw them, which is weird that I've already seen your team, but I've already watched them. And they're like, oh, wow, you're on top of this. I'm like, well, yeah, I've been busy the last few days watching cheerleading videos. But there's some team I think I liked best, and I'm going to offend a lot of people by saying one team. I really enjoyed Senior Elite is the name of them. I think they've been widely considered apparently as one of the best as far as I know. I know nothing about cheer. Someone said I should live tweet the championships of cheer, and I was like, no, I don't know. I used the gif of Michael Scott smelling the wine at the wedding and saying this is a white, and that was his comment about the wine. He said he's a connoisseur of wine, and the only thing he'd come up with was that it was a white wine. That would be me commenting on cheerleading. So no, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, they're impressive athletes though. It's really cool.
They are, yes. Yeah, no, I've always said that I think, these cheerleading tournaments, these cheerleading championships, they're incredible athletes, and anyone that says that their cheerleading is not a sport and that they're not athletes is crazy. Yeah, they're crazy. Go
ahead.
Oh, I was going to just, finish that off and just say that, the types of tricks that they do, the injuries that they can sustain from what they're doing, the training that they go through, it's incredible. I mean, they're up there with other athletes. I'm not saying they're more athletic than other athletes, but they are athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I lost my train of thought. It was, this is gonna bug me. But what I was gonna say was people hear cheerleading and they just think of their small town high school where they had 3 cheerleaders with the pom poms yelling "Go team." Yeah. It's like that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about it's basically gymnastics and acrobatics. It's not give me an A, give me an R, type of cheerleading. It's there's not a lot of cheering going on. It's mostly unbelievable acrobatic maneuvers.
Yeah. So maybe you should start a second Twitter of cheerleading commenter.
I had that suggestion. I had them. They wanted to start a petition to have me join a cheer club. And I was like, I promise you don't want me to do that. I promise you really don't. And I would never. The only thing I thought about that I backed off on, I was talking to somebody, one of my friends, and I was like, do you think I should put out like my Venmo and just see if I can just make some random money off these people? And he's like, no, that would be really bad. I'm like, you're right. It would be bad because most of them are probably like teenagers or in college or something. So let's not leech off of the kids' money. But I know I would get like at least $5 to $10.
No, that's funny. I'm here in central Iowa, and Carson King, he was famous for holding up his I need some Bush Light money. sign, and
it
like
worked.
it took off, and like he ended up raising some I forget the numbers, hundreds of
Millions.
thousands of dollars,
I think he
not millions.
I think he ended up getting matched like $1 million or something like that. Yeah, I'm up in
Yeah.
North Dakota, so I'm plenty
Oh.
familiar with Carson.
Yeah, so it was really fun to see that take off here, and just sort of he became this local celebrity that you know, an off, you know, a thing on
Right.
the whim. He happened to get a great spot on game day, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah, I was
fun.
down at the Hawkeye game last year that he was at
Oh,
when he went on
fun.
the field, the Penn State game. I was down there actually, so yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Carson did a cool thing.
Yep. So yeah, I don't know that you aspire to such great heights, especially since you're not even doing the Venmo thing. But
Totally.
yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yep.
So yeah, keep enjoying the ride. You know, keep having fun on Twitter.
It's awesome.
And you know, maybe we'll build a little community out of this after all.
Yeah. When Simon said when he said when he's doing this show when he's 90, I got really confident that we're going to have the show for a while.
Yeah.
And then I thought, imagine if this show is on when Simon Cowell is 90 years old.
Yeah, I think I saw that even a rerun episode this past week beat everything else in the ratings.
Yeah, and the summer, it dominates the summer. It's not going up against the best stuff, obviously, but the numbers it pulls is still really impressive because you just don't have as many viewers in the summer, just in general, because people are out and about doing stuff. But yeah, it's amazing that it's lasted this strongly for 15 years because just about every other reality talent TV show has flamed out in one way or another. The Voice is really the only one that's still doing well for as long as it has. Idol took a tank there for a while. It's still on, I think, but it's not what it used to be, obviously.
Now, are you watching Nick Cannon on The Masked Singer?
I am not watching. I have not watched The Masked Singer. But I was happy to see that he landed on his feet with such an amazing opportunity on The Masked Singer.
Well, thanks for coming on. I mean,
I appreciate
anything
it.
else, Jay?
I'm sure I could come up with dozens more questions, and we could go on for a lot longer, but it'd be unnecessary at this point.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I appreciate it. I'll come on anytime you guys want.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on once the live shows start and kind of get your opinions after, judge cuts have been happening, maybe the first round of live shows, kind of get your thoughts then. So this has been fun. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's been really cool.
Real cool. All right.
Yep. Well, Jay and I need to take care of some business real quick. So if you want to stick on for just another minute or so, this is AGT Commenter on Twitter. So, go follow him, but he's got more followers than we do. So we're kind of leeching off him at this point. And we're on there at AGT Time. I'm on there at Cody L. Patterson. Jay is on there at One Man Bander. We're also on Facebook, AGT Cast. And you can hit us up on email, agtcast@gmail.com. We'd also love rates, comments, reviews on iTunes. 5-star reviews, please. We'd appreciate that. No 4Xs. We don't want 4Xs. So we'd really appreciate that.
I think that's all of it. So thanks for hanging in there this week. Even though it was just a rerun, it was fun to put out an episode, and hopefully we'll be able to bring in some more guests and some more commentary alongside with us. So thank you, AGT Commenter.
Yes,
I appreciate
thank
it.
you. Yeah, I think next week we're going to get the online submissions. Is that correct?
Oh, okay.
So from what I'm hearing is that we're going to get the online submissions, which Jay and I have already recapped. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're going to recap those again. We'll have to see what airs next week.
Yeah. Cool.
Have you watched any of the online?
I know the one magician I watched. I can't remember. I honestly don't remember much about him. There was a magician, if I'm even recalling that correctly.
There was. He had like a purple background, if I recall.
Yeah. So when they were putting those out, I thought they were going to end up being like on the show, so I didn't want to watch. Like when they released the spoilers every week, I never watched those because I want to watch them live. I hate that they do the spoilers. So I assumed that they were either going to show those online ones on the show, or those people were going to be on the show during the auditions or something. So I was like, I don't want to watch them for the most part, but yeah.
Yep, we had Max Major was his name.
Yep.
In Vegas, did some Mentalist act.
That's what it was.
Yeah, there's other acts. I think they're enjoyable enough. On the Show Must Go Online production, Terry Crews, after they got their yeses, would say, now you have the potential to maybe possibly be on the show, possibly.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
it's really kind of
Very,
funny.
very
That's-
vague and
that's-
ambiguous.
That clears it up really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I one thought that I had, and since we're just not wrapping this up, do you have any prognostication about how this season is going to look or feel or be different than previous seasons given the pandemic?
Well, so I think there's some types of act that you can almost rule out that don't have a chance at the live shows because of the no crowd, which the comedians to me are an immediate. They just don't have. They're just not gonna be able to put on the enjoyment part where you're watching at home, where you feel you almost draw half of your laughs from a comedian from the crowd. Like, oh, they're laughing now, I'll laugh. They're starting from so far behind. To me, singers have a really big. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I think acts that just have music behind them have the best advantage with no crowd, because singers are paying attention to the crowd.
Yep.
Like, they're looking at them, they're paying attention, they're feeding off of them. An acrobatic act or something, even a magic act, is not necessarily playing with the crowd. They're focused on exactly what they're doing, the jumping. If it's magic, they're doing with their cards. I probably would say those acts have the leg up just because of that. I still think, from what I saw from Danelia, talent-wise, I don't even think that was her best song that she could have done, because I thought the backing track was a little bit loud, which Simon loves to bring up and stop people. But
Yeah.
I think, to me, I think I don't think I've ever made a prediction this early, and I'm probably still not going to, but gun to my head, I think she's going to win. But I still won't say that. There's a lot of songs to sing yet for her, so I'm not gonna make any bold predictions quite yet.
Yeah, well, based on what you're saying, this might be the year for a dancer or a dance crew of some kind.
I think Waffle. I don't know if they go by Waffle or Waffle Crew, whatever they go by, but they're good, and they've got sort of the makeup of personalities, the backstory to where you, not so much the backstory where you feel really bad for them, but just sort of that they're a family and they've been together for a long time. You kind of naturally root for a group like that.
And you like them better
really
than the Bone Breakers?
Yes. The Bone Breakers, although I will say it was my favorite version of double jointed acts that I've seen, because I actually thought they did some cool stuff and there was some cool moves for them. But like, what was his name? Strauss Serpent or whatever his name was.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't watch those. To me, that's not good. Like, it's gross. There's probably, obviously there's a little bit of talent involved, but you're just doing stuff that, like, it would just be like me flexing my thumb. Like, that's just something that my body can just naturally do. I just don't see it as something cool. But they actually had some choreography to it, which I actually thought was kind of cool. But even that was still one where I had to a little bit suffer through the whole thing.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I think I'm out of questions.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. Yeah, again, this has been a lot of fun. We've really enjoyed. This is at AGT Commenter on Twitter. Go follow him. Follow us as well at AGT Time. Cheerleading.
Yes.
We
Put
love
it in the
cheerleading.
I'll see if we can get the cheerleading bump on this one. And you guys are on YouTube. The audio of this goes up on what?
The audio goes up on YouTube. It's also on iTunes, Spotify. We might be on Stitcher, Google Podcasts. We're on as many of those as possible. So
Perfect.
Yeah,
I'll
download
push
it.
I'll make sure to push it to the cheerleading group chat, the AGT commenters fan club.
Yeah. See if they'll add it to one of their routines as the
the backing
music
track.
to the. That's right.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for coming on.
I appreciate it. Anytime, fellas.
All right. Fun ride.
Thanks.
So we'll go ahead and sign off now. Everyone, have a great night and stay safe.